I never thought a single object could spark such chaos in my life. Yet here I was, clutching my great-grandmother's vintage heirloom ring, feeling the weight of generations and family drama pressing down on me. This ring wasn't just a piece of jewelry, it was a story, a legacy passed down from mother to daughter, each of them strong, resilient women. It symbolized endurance, love, and a connection to the past, and now it was mine. At least, I thought it was until my brother got engaged. To understand how we got here, you need to know about my family. I'm Maya, 33 years old, single by choice, and working as a graphic designer. I lead a quiet life, the kind most people don't notice except when they need something from me. My younger brother, Ethan, has always been the golden child. At 30, he's the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. Where I was the responsible one, Ethan was the charming life-of-the-party sibling who coasted through life on charisma and well-timed smiles. And then there was the new addition to the family, Courtney, Ethan's fiancée. Courtney was a whirlwind of energy, the type who filled a room with her presence and made sure everyone noticed her. She wasn't just confident, she was commanding, with a knack for turning casual conversations into opportunities to talk about herself. From the moment she and Ethan announced their engagement, Courtney had taken center stage in every family gathering, transforming the simplest discussions into grand productions about wedding colors, seating arrangements, and, of course, her bridal gown. The first time she saw the ring was during a family dinner at my parents' house. It was one of those gatherings where my mom made her famous pot roast, and we all tried to pretend we didn't have unresolved issues simmering under the surface. I was sitting on the couch fiddling with the ring out of habit when Courtney's sharp eyes zeroed in on it. "Oh my God!" she exclaimed, loud enough to make everyone stop mid-bite. "That ring is stunning! Let me see it!" I hesitated, but her hand was already outstretched, her manicured nails glittering under the chandelier. Reluctantly, I slipped the ring off and handed it to her. She held it up, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she turned it over in her hand. "This is perfect," she said, more to herself than anyone else. "Absolutely perfect. Maya, where did you get this?" "It's a family heirloom," I said, trying to sound casual. "It's been passed down for generations." Courtney's eyes lit up. "It's exactly the kind of ring I've been looking for. Ethan, wouldn't this make the perfect wedding ring?" Ethan, oblivious as ever, grinned. "Sure, babe, whatever you want." I forced a polite laugh, my stomach twisting. It's not really up for grabs. It's been in the family for decades. Courtney's smile faltered, but only for a moment. "Oh, of course," she said, her tone overly sweet. "But isn't it better to use something like this for such a special occasion? I mean, it would finally be showcased properly instead of being, tucked away." I stiffened. "It's not tucked away. I wear it regularly. Besides, it's more than just a ring. It's a piece of family history." Courtney pouted, a delicate, practiced move that I'm sure worked wonders on Ethan. "Well, we are family now, aren't we?" Ethan chuckled, clearly eager to avoid tension. "Come on, Maya. It's just a ring." "It's not just a ring," I said, more firmly this time. "It's a symbol of everything this family has been through. It was our great-grandmother's, then passed down to Grandma and Mom before me." Courtney's pout deepened. "It's just, I don't know. It feels like you're being a little possessive, doesn't it?" That comment hit a nerve. I glanced around the room, hoping for some support, but all I saw were blank or uncomfortable faces. My mom was Fidget. I grew up in a family where traditions were cherished, but only when they suited certain people. My name is Mia, and I'm 32 years old, working as a freelance graphic designer. I live alone in a cozy apartment I decorated to reflect my personality, full of warm tones, eclectic art, and little touches of history, much of it inspired by my late grandmother. She was the glue of our family and the one who made me feel seen, even when everyone else overlooked me. One of my most prized possessions is a vintage sapphire ring that once belonged to her. It's exquisite, with a deep blue stone set in an intricate silver band, and it was gifted to her by my grandfather on their 25th anniversary. When she passed away, the ring was left to me in her will, something that shocked the rest of my family. Apparently, they had assumed it would go to my older brother, Alex, since he was the eldest and their golden child, but Grandma had been deliberate in her choice. "This ring belongs with someone who appreciates its story," she had told me once, gently turning it around on her finger as we sat together in her sunny garden. "It's not about wealth or status. It's about heart, and you've got plenty of that, Mia." The memory warms me even now, but I know my family doesn't see it that way. To them, Alex was the obvious heir to everything important. Growing up, he was the center of attention, athletic, charming, and effortlessly talented. Meanwhile, I was the quiet one who loved to draw, read, and linger in the shadows at family gatherings. Alex could do no wrong in my parents' eyes, and as we grew older, that dynamic never really changed. When Alex announced his engagement to Vanessa last year, the family was ecstatic. Vanessa is stunning, ambitious, and polished to perfection, a modern-day social media influencer who has mastered the art of capturing every enviable moment of her life. She's the type of woman who turns heads when she walks into a room, her laughter calculated just enough to seem carefree. And while I won't deny she has a certain magnetism, she also has a way of making people feel like they're part of her entourage rather than equals. From the moment we met, I knew she saw me as a bit of a non-entity, someone to be tolerated rather than valued. "Alex has told me so much about you," she'd said the first time we met, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. "You're like the artistic one, right? So cool." That was Vanessa in a nutshell. She had a way of wrapping condescension in a sugary tone that made it hard to call out without seeming petty. I had brushed it off at the time, but as the wedding preparations ramped up, I found myself increasingly drawn into her orbit of expectations. Vanessa's approach to wedding planning was nothing short of military precision. She had spreadsheets, mood boards, and a seemingly endless list of demands, all backed by a smile that dared anyone to refuse her. My mother and father were completely swept up in her vision, often gushing about how lucky Alex was to have found someone so driven and sophisticated. I couldn't help but notice how different their tone was when they talked about my life choices, as though working for myself and prioritizing my happiness were somehow signs of irresponsibility. "Mia," Vanessa said one evening during a family dinner, leaning in as though she were about to share a secret. "I saw that sapphire ring you were wearing last time. It's gorgeous. Is it real vintage?" I nodded, already sensing where this was going. "It was my grandmother's," I replied carefully. "She left it to me." Her eyes lit up in a way that sent a chill down my spine. "Oh, wow, that's perfect. You know, I've been looking for something like that for the wedding. It would totally match the theme, kind of timeless elegance, you know? Alex told me about how important family heirlooms are in your family. What if I borrowed it as my something blue?" The table had fallen silent. My father looked intrigued. My mother seemed already convinced. And Alex was grinning as though Vanessa had just suggested the most brilliant idea in the world. I, on the other hand, felt my stomach twist into a knot. "It's really special to me," I said hesitantly, hoping to steer the conversation away without causing a scene. "I don't think I'd be comfortable with it leaving my care." Vanessa's smile faltered for a fraction of a second before returning in full force. "Oh, Mia, don't be silly. It's just for one day. You'd get it right back. It's not like I'm asking for it as a gift." Her tone was light, but there was an undercurrent of entitlement that made my blood boil. She clearly wasn't used to hearing no. Alex jumped in, his voice dripping with that older brother patronizing edge I had come to dread. "Come on, Mia. It's for Vanessa's wedding, family unity and all that. Don't make it a big deal." It was on the tip of my tongue to retort, but I bit it back, unwilling to escalate things in front of everyone. "I'll think about it," I said finally, forcing a smile. Later that night, as I turned the ring around on my finger, I felt a wave of determination wash over me. This wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It was a piece of my identity, a tangible reminder of the only person who had ever truly understood me, and I wasn't about to let it become a prop in someone else's fairy tale. It was the following weekend when Vanessa decided to push the issue further. I was at my parents' house for a casual family dinner, the kind where everyone pretended we were a picture-perfect family while ignoring the tension simmering just below the surface. I had brought a bottle of wine and a polite smile, but I wasn't prepared for Vanessa to be there, armed with her usual charm and an agenda. "Mia, you made it!" she exclaimed as I stepped into the living room. Her voice was warm and bubbly, but her eyes were calculating, already assessing her next move. She sat perched on the edge of the couch, her perfectly manicured fingers wrapped around a glass of sparkling water. Alex was beside her, looking relaxed and smug, as if he'd already won some unspoken argument. "Hi, Vanessa," I replied, my voice even. I wasn't in the mood to play whatever game she had planned, but I knew better than to let my guard down. Dinner was uneventful at first, filled with small talk about wedding preparations. Vanessa dominated the conversation as usual, going on about floral arrangements and seating charts. My parents hung on her every word, nodding and agreeing as though she were some kind of wedding oracle. I stayed quiet, pushing the food around on my plate and waiting for the inevitable moment when the ring would come up. Sure enough, halfway through dessert, Vanessa struck. "So, Mia," she said, her tone as casual as if she were commenting on the weather, "did you give any more thought to letting me borrow that gorgeous ring for the wedding?" The room went silent. My mother's eyes darted to me, her expression a mix of curiosity and expectation. My father leaned back in his chair, clearly anticipating some sort of negotiation. Alex didn't even bother to hide his smirk. I set my fork down and took a deep breath. "I did think about it," I said carefully, "and I've decided I'm not comfortable with it. The ring is too important to me." Vanessa's smile froze, her grip tightening on her wine glass. "Mia, I understand it's sentimental, but it's just for one day. I'll take good care of it, I promise." "It's not about trust," I replied, trying to keep my tone polite but firm. "It's a family heirloom. It's meant to stay with me." Vanessa's eyes flicked to Alex, silently pleading for backup. He didn't disappoint. "Mia, come on, it's not like she's asking to keep it. Don't you think you're being a little selfish? This is her wedding we're talking about?" The word selfish hit me like a slap. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, but I forced myself to stay calm. "I'm not being selfish. I'm respecting what the ring represents. Grandma gave it to me because she trusted me to preserve its legacy." "Oh, so now you're the keeper of the family legacy?" Vanessa shot back, her voice tinged with sarcasm. "It's just a ring, Mia. You're making this way bigger than it needs to be." My mother cleared her throat, clearly uncomfortable with the growing tension. "Mia, honey, maybe you could reconsider. It's such a small thing, and it would mean so much to Vanessa." I stared at her, feeling a pang of betrayal. "It's not a small thing to me," I said quietly, "and honestly, I'm surprised you would suggest that." Vanessa leaned forward, her tone turning sharper. "This isn't about the ring, is it? This is about you being jealous because I'm marrying Alex and you're... what? Still single?" The words hung in the air, heavy and cutting. I saw Alex stiffen slightly, but he didn't say anything to stop her. My mother gasped softly, and my father frowned but stayed silent. For a moment, I was too stunned to respond. Then, a sharp, humorless laugh escaped me. "Jealous? Of what exactly?" "Vanessa, this isn't about you. It's about respecting boundaries and family traditions. If you can't see that, maybe you're the one who needs to rethink things." Vanessa's face reddened, but before she could respond, I stood up and pushed my chair back. "I think we're done here," I said, my voice steady. "Thanks for dinner, Mom." I left the house that night with my head held high, but my heart was pounding. The battle lines had been drawn, and I knew this was far from over. The weeks that followed that disastrous dinner were a whirlwind of tension, manipulation, and subtle and not-so-subtle attacks on my character. Vanessa was determined not to let the issue of the ring go, and she quickly made it her mission to turn the entire family against me. At first, I didn't realize the extent of her scheming, but it didn't take long for her true colors to shine through. It started with the phone calls. My mother, usually reserved and hesitant to get involved in conflicts, began calling me almost daily. Each conversation followed the same pattern: a warm greeting, a few minutes of casual chit-chat, and then the inevitable pivot. "Mia, sweetheart," she said one afternoon, her voice overly gentle, "I've been thinking about what happened at dinner. Don't you think you might have overreacted just a little?" I pinched the bridge of my nose, already exhausted. "Mom, we've been through this. I'm not overreacting. The ring is mine, and it's not up for debate." "But Vanessa feels so hurt," she continued, ignoring my words. "She told me she feels like you're deliberately trying to undermine her big day. And honestly, I don't understand why you're being so stubborn about this." "Stubborn?" My voice rose despite my best efforts. "Mom, this isn't about being stubborn. This is about respecting the legacy of the ring. Grandma gave it to me because she wanted me to have it, not so it could be a prop for Vanessa's wedding photos." My mother sighed heavily, the kind of sigh designed to make me feel guilty. "I just don't want this to ruin the family dynamic. Vanessa is going to be your sister-in-law, Mia. Can't you at least try to meet her halfway?" I gritted my teeth. "I'm not the one ruining the family dynamic, Mom. Vanessa is. She's the one who won't take no for an answer." By the time we hung up, I felt drained, but the worst was yet to come. Over the next few days, it became clear that Vanessa had gone on a full-blown charm offensive with the rest of the family. My aunt called to ask why I was causing drama. My cousin sent a carefully worded text about how family unity was more important than old jewelry. Even my father, who rarely involved himself in family disputes, pulled me aside during a visit to say, "You know, Mia, it wouldn't hurt to let Vanessa borrow the ring. It's not like you're wearing it every day." I was furious. Vanessa had painted herself as the victim, and I was now the unreasonable, jealous sister who refused to share. But I refused to give in. Every time someone brought it up, I repeated the same line: "The ring is not available, and that's final." The turning point came when I overheard Vanessa talking to Alex in the kitchen during a family barbecue. I had stepped inside to grab a drink when I heard her voice, low and conspiratorial. "She's doing this to spite me, Alex. She's jealous that I'm marrying you and she's still single. That's what this is really about. She can't stand that I'm the center of attention." "Vanessa, come on," Alex replied, though his tone lacked conviction. "Mia's not like that. She's just protective about her stuff." "Protective?" Vanessa hissed. "She's selfish. She doesn't care about us or this wedding. She's making everything about her. If you don't do something, I'm going to lose it." I felt a hot surge of anger and stepped into the room before I could stop myself. "Lose it, huh? Don't let me stop you," I said, my voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Vanessa jumped, her face flushing red. "Oh, Mia, I didn't see you there." "I'm sure you didn't," I replied, crossing my arms. "But since I'm here, why don't we clear a few things up? First, this isn't about you, Vanessa. It never has been. Second, I'm not jealous of you. And third, the ring is off limits. I don't care how many people you manipulate into taking your side." Alex stepped between us, his hands up in a gesture of peace. "Mia, let's not make this a bigger deal than it already is." "Oh, it's already a big deal, Alex," I shot back. "Your fiancé has been slandering me to the entire family because I won't hand over something that doesn't belong to her. If you're okay with that, then maybe you should be the one reconsidering things." Vanessa's jaw dropped, and Alex looked like he'd been slapped. "That's not fair," he said weakly. "Neither is this ridiculous campaign you've been running," I said, glaring at Vanessa. "You've crossed a line." I walked out before either of them could respond, but I knew the confrontation wasn't over. The next day, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I spent hours digging through family archives, photo albums, old letters, and even the box of mementos Grandma had left behind. I wanted proof, something concrete to back up my claim that the ring wasn't just a piece of jewelry, but a symbol of our family's history. And I found it, a handwritten note from Grandma, tucked inside an old photo album. It read, "To Mia, my dearest granddaughter, this ring has been in our family for 4 generations, a reminder of the strength and love that binds us together. I'm giving it to you because I know you'll honor its meaning and keep its story alive. With all my love, Grandma." Reading her words brought tears to my eyes, but it also gave me renewed determination. This wasn't just about the ring anymore. It was about standing up for myself and what I believed in. Armed with the note, I prepared for the next battle, knowing Vanessa wouldn't back down without a fight. But now I had something she didn't, the truth. The day of the big family meeting arrived, orchestrated by none other than Vanessa. She had framed it as a way to clear the air and bring the family back together, but I knew it was her last-ditch effort to corner me in front of everyone and force my hand. What she didn't know was that I had come prepared. The dining room buzzed with hushed conversations as the family trickled in. Vanessa sat at the head of the table, her posture rigid, and her expression a perfect blend of victimhood and determination. Alex hovered nearby, clearly torn between loyalty to his fiancée and the discomfort of being in the middle of this mess. My parents sat quietly, their faces etched with worry and fatigue. I walked in with my head held high, carrying a small, leather-bound photo album. My heart pounded, but I forced myself to project calm. If Vanessa wanted a showdown, she would get one. "Mia," Vanessa began, her voice dripping with faux sweetness. "Thank you for coming. I think it's really important that we all talk this out as a family." "I couldn't agree more," I said evenly, taking a seat across from her. "Let's get started." She nodded, clearly pleased by what she assumed was my willingness to surrender. "Good. I just want to say up front that this whole situation has been so stressful for everyone. It was never my intention to create tension, but I feel like there's been a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Do explain." Vanessa clasped her hands together, her performance in full swing. "The ring is such a beautiful piece of family history, and I just thought it would be an honor to include it in our wedding. It's not about taking it away from you, Mia. It's about celebrating our family's legacy." The room murmured in agreement, and I noticed my mother nodding along. Vanessa's theatrics were working at least on some of them. "That's interesting," I said, my voice steady, "because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been using this so-called celebration as an excuse to manipulate the family and discredit me." Vanessa's smile faltered. "Manipulate? That's not fair, Mia." "Oh, I think it's perfectly fair," I replied, opening the photo album and flipping to a specific page. "Because unlike you, I have proof." I held up a photo of Grandma wearing the ring, taken on her 50th wedding anniversary. Beside it, I placed a copy of the handwritten note she had left me, the words clear and unmistakable. "This ring wasn't just an heirloom to Grandma," I said, my voice growing stronger. "It was a symbol of her strength, her love, and her belief in the women of this family. She chose to give it to me, not to Alex, not to my mom, and certainly not to Vanessa, me. And she did so because she trusted me to honor its meaning." The room went silent. All eyes were on the note, and I saw the flicker of guilt cross my mother's face as she read Grandma's words. My father leaned forward, squinting at the photo, as if to confirm its authenticity. Vanessa, however, was less composed. "Well, that's sweet," she said, her voice tight. "But don't you think Grandma would want it to be shared? It's just sitting on your finger, Mia." "Isn't it selfish to keep it all to yourself?" I smiled coldly. "Selfish? Vanessa, what's selfish is demanding something that doesn't belong to you and then spreading lies about the person who refuses to give in." Vanessa's face reddened, and I knew I had hit a nerve. I wasn't lying, she snapped. I just think you're being difficult. Difficult or not, I said, leaning forward. The decision isn't yours to make. The ring is mine, and it's staying with me. Alex finally spoke up, his voice hesitant. Vanessa, maybe we should drop this, if it means that much to Mia. No, Vanessa interrupted, glaring at him. This isn't just about the ring. This is about respect, about family unity. Family unity? I laughed bitterly. Funny how you only care about unity when it benefits you. You've been dividing this family since the moment you got engaged. Turning people against me, painting me as the villain. How is that unity? Vanessa opened her mouth to respond, but my mother's voice cut through. That's enough. Everyone turned to look at her. She was holding the note, her eyes glistening with tears. Mia's right. This ring was Grandma's gift to her, and we've all lost sight of what that means. I'm ashamed it's come to this. I blinked in surprise, not expecting her to side with me. My father nodded solemnly. Your mother's right, Vanessa. You need to let this go. Vanessa looked like she had swallowed a lemon. But... No buts, Alex said, his tone more decisive now. Mia's made her choice. We're not bringing this up again. Vanessa glared at me, her eyes filled with resentment, but she said nothing more. The battle was over, and I had won. As the family began to disperse, I stayed behind to gather my things. Alex approached me, his expression unreadable. Hey, he said quietly, I'm sorry about all this. Vanessa can be intense. Intense is one word for it, I said, slipping the photo album into my bag. He sighed. I'll talk to her. Hopefully, she'll come around. Good luck with that, I replied, my tone neutral. As I walked out of the house, the weight that had been pressing on me for weeks finally lifted. The ring was safe, but more importantly, I had stood my ground. Grandma would have been proud. In the weeks following the family meeting, a strange calm settled over my life. The fiery intensity of Vanessa's campaign to claim the ring had fizzled out, though the aftershocks rippled quietly through our family. I could tell she wasn't over it. Her clipped tone and frosty demeanor during family gatherings made that abundantly clear, but she had no more ammunition. The truth, backed by Grandma's note, and the family's reluctant support, had extinguished her efforts. What surprised me most was how my parents began to treat me. For as long as I could remember, they'd been quick to overlook me in favor of Alex, but now there was a newfound respect in their interactions. My mother, in particular, seemed intent on mending the rift between us. One afternoon, she invited me over for tea, a rare gesture in itself. As we sat on the porch sipping from delicate porcelain cups, she hesitated before speaking. I owe you an apology, Mia, she said softly, her eyes fixed on the steam rising from her cup. I should have supported you from the beginning. I let myself get swept up in Vanessa's excitement, and I lost sight of what really mattered. I didn't know how to respond at first. Part of me wanted to brush it off, to spare her the discomfort of facing her mistakes. But I knew this moment was important for both of us. It hurt, I admitted. When you didn't stand up for me, it felt like you were choosing her over me. She looked up, her eyes shimmering with guilt. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I should have trusted you. Your grandmother would have been so proud of how you handled this. Hearing those words was like a balm on an old wound. For the first time, I felt seen by her in a way I hadn't before. Thank you, I said simply, and for once the silence that followed felt warm and healing. Alex, on the other hand, was less forthcoming. He called me a week after the meeting, his tone sheepish. Hey, Mia, I just wanted to, check in. I let him flounder for a moment, enjoying the rare occasion of him feeling unsure. I'm fine, Alex. How's Vanessa? She's okay, he said hesitantly. Still upset about the ring, but she's coming around. I didn't bother hiding my skepticism. She'll get over it eventually. I hope so, he said, then paused. Look, I know I didn't handle this the way I should have. I should have backed you up. I guess I just wanted to keep the peace. You wanted to keep Vanessa happy, I corrected him, though my tone wasn't unkind. And I get it, Alex. But next time, remember that keeping the peace shouldn't come at someone else's expense. He exhaled heavily. You're right, I'll try to do better. It wasn't a perfect apology, but it was a start.